Hello again. Welcome to Inspired Voices with Sangwadzi. And as usual, I always bring amazing people, ordinary people who are doing extraordinary work in our communities that we might never hear of, but bring them inspired voices to speak to us, to talk to us about the work that they are doing. Our job here is to educate people, inspire people, and amplify these voices. And so my guest today is a young lady, Yevedzo Chitiga. Yevedzo is in the United States. She's a trained lawyer. She worked for two big law firms, and then she got fired, and she didn't have a job. But she rose, like all inspired women. She rose to the top. Yevedzo, welcome to the program, and I would like you to talk to us about your story.
Thank you so much, Sangwadzi. Thank you, Auntie Spiwe. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you. I really love what you're doing, and I'm just so grateful for this opportunity to share my story. Let's jump right in then. Yeah, so, I like to say that I was gifted with a layoff a year ago. And I was impacted in mass layoff of almost 300 people from the company that I was working at. And that was a shock to the system. I don't think anyone goes through an experience like that and is unshaken. I was enjoying my job and the work that I was doing, and I thought I was doing it well. And then with many others, were told that, there were changes that needed to happen and we were impacted. And so I had to figure out, okay, what happens now? And as you said, I am a trained attorney. I have 11 years of experience. And so the natural thing for me to do would be to go to find another legal job, and keep moving in that way. Except for me, as a woman of strong faith, as a spiritual person, I am a Christian, and I try to listen to my spirit. And my spirit said, no, that's not the move. It's not another legal job. And this was a little odd because, I've been laid off. Of course, I need to find another job and make money. Like, why would I not do that? But very strongly, I heard that, right? And so I said, okay, this is obviously not me, because my inclination is to have plan A, B, C through Z. Mm-hmm. And so I listened. And as I kept spending time in prayer and introspecting, I thought, okay, what do I do then if it's not law? Because I've been doing that for so long. It's something I've always, I grew up wanting to be a lawyer. And so if it's not that, what do I do? And I thought about the business that I had been building on the side very slowly, which is coaching business. And I had been doing that for a number of years, but more intensely in the last year. And so I was like, okay, well, what about if I bet on myself and I do the coaching? And I just continue to invest in that. And I start telling people that's what I'm doing and start building the business. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. Maybe that's the move. And so I started doing that. And I will
coaching
also
in
share.
What? I'm sorry about that. Maybe explain a little bit better about the coaching, because right now we're seeing a lot of everybody's a coach of one thing or the other. But what were you doing in your business?
Absolutely. So coaching women. I have a heart for women in the workplace because I know the struggles of trying to balance and juggle it all, whether you're a mom or a caregiver, some sort of wife, whatever that is. And I also know what it's like to be in the corporate world as a woman. And so I really have a heart for women. And my practice is an executive coaching practice. And so pretty senior people in their careers. Leadership development, and then also consulting. And specifically, I work primarily, not exclusively, but primarily with women lawyers, which obviously, makes sense because that's who I am. But I didn't start off that way. In fact, I resisted that, which is a whole nother story. My story is one of learning to be obedient and to trust, the process and also my spirit. And so, I decided, okay, let me bet on myself and do the coaching. And so I started doing that. And slowly but surely, been building this business. Clients have been coming, and in the last couple of months, things have just blown up. And in a very good way. I'm overwhelmed by the number of inquiries and things that are going on, and that is all good stuff. Because to be so early in my business and to be experiencing this, the only thing I can explain is, it's a God thing. It's God's timing. And so for me, that's kind of the overall snippet of the story, a story of faith and, like I said, obedience.
Well, you see, it's a black girl magic. Rise and rise of Yevedzo Chitiga. Sometimes there's no other way to go if you are a smart person. And of course, you have to listen to your spirit. But if it's for you, when the student is ready, a teacher will arrive. It just shows you exactly where to go. And once you're on that track, no stopping. No stopping. I mean, because I know what it's like to be fired. I've been up that road myself, and I know the feeling of the first wave that you get. Like, like, why? Like, now what? And people always have a tendency to think that your job is what makes you.
Ooh.
No, it's not, because it's so temporary. It's just like a death of something is gone, and you're moving over to something else. And once you're on the track of something you love doing, I think I'm speaking to the choir here. You know the feeling. But tell me, how does that work out from? Okay, I sound like I'm repeating myself. I talk too much, and it's you who should be saying that. From being fired to making it to Forbes Magazine. I mean, Forbes Magazine, people. Really, how did that work out, and what happened? How did you qualify to make it there to Forbes?
Oh, there's a lot of stuff there that you said that's so good. And I want to try and address a few different things that you said. The first one is your identity being tied to a job. I struggled with that, and I didn't even recognize how much my identity was tied in being a lawyer. And I think for a long time, part of the reason I had so much shame around being let go was because I said, well, now how do I explain to people that I'm coaching? I mean, that doesn't sound as prestigious. That doesn't sound as good, right? And what is that? A lot of people don't even know what that is. How do I go from being a lawyer to coaching? I'm the first lawyer in my family. And so you carry that, right? And to be a Black woman in the legal industry, that's a huge deal. To have worked at the places I've worked at, as a Black woman, a lot of times being the only or the first to do various things, right? And so you carry that and you think that is who I am. And so when something shakes you like a layoff, then you're stuck and you're like, well, who am I now, right? And so I did struggle with that more than I anticipated. And I think we all have to remember who we are as individuals, and that our value does not lie in a job title. Like you said, those things are temporary, and it's a job is a job. You can be replaced tomorrow like this. Who are you outside of that? And so part of my journey has been redefining who I am and being comfortable with that and accepting it, and now proudly, I'll tell you I'm a coach because I absolutely love what I do, which is your point, right? And I think not only is it about loving what you do, I think it's also the alignment with, for me, what I consider to be part of my calling and my purpose. I think my purpose has shifted in a number of years. And I think in this season of life, it is to step out as an encourager, as a voice to say, hey, listen, you're not alone. I don't know a lot of people who talk about their laid off experience,
True.
and I surely didn't want to. I surely did not want to.
You're so correct. And I can tell you, even some of the most prestigious people, some of the famous people, at one point they got fired. And it doesn't have to be that top job. Somewhere along the line, or we're pressured to finally leave, which is being fired. But, it's nothing. I don't know why we don't talk about it and normalize it. Like, you get a job, you either leave or you get fired, and move on. Cut the loss.
Right. Right. We don't talk about it because I think there is a lot of shame and like, oh, maybe you did something. It's like, no, you could have done nothing, right? And still that can be the case because a company's priorities change, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
So I think you're right, normalizing it. And then also the second piece that's tied to it is not only was I going through a layoff, but I was also going through a shift, right? A pivot in my career,
Mhm.
right? And that's
Mhm.
also another thing, right? How do you leave something so prestigious as the law and you do something else? There's also not a lot of conversation around that. And yet, once I've stepped into this, oh, the number of people I've met who've left the law to do, other things has been astounding. I've met lawyers who've become artists, musicians, so many coaches. Like there's so many things in there, and it's amazing to see. And I think that the reminder there is that you have one life to live. And if you are living on someone else's version of what that life should look like and what your career path should look like, then you're doing yourself a
Mhm.
disservice and you are missing out on all of the amazing things that are out there for you because we are multifaceted people. You are
Mhm.
not just one thing. You're not we're multidimensional. Um, and so that's the other thing that I wanted to address. And then I think, to go to your question about how do you go from that to Forbes, it's hard. I am still trying to process it. Like how, who, me, like how did this
Yeah.
happen? But through working with a PR organization that I work with, this opportunity came about, and they said, "Hey, listen, we'd love to consider you for this if you're open to it." And I was like, "Okay," not really thinking that I would even be chosen, right? I was like, "Okay, cool." And so I shared my story, right? I shared a snippet of my story, and they were featuring Black women in entrepreneurship. And I
Mhm.
mean, I, I am I feel like I'm a very, very, very tiny fish if we're talking about the sea of Black women in entrepreneurship, right? And so I didn't think anything of it. And then I was told that, yeah, they wanted to talk about my story and talk about, for me, I spoke about authenticity in business and, in social media, which I use social media a lot. I use LinkedIn a lot to share and talk and encourage people. And I just try to use my authentic voice there. And so they wanted to talk about that and they featured that. And it's still, like I said, it's a pinch me moment because I mean, Forbes magazine, and I grew up with some really incredible role models in my family, including my own
I was
mom,
gonna
right?
go there. I was gonna go there. Not only your
And
mother, I was
right,
gonna
not
go
only
there.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So growing up with these incredible women role models who did some amazing things, featured on so many magazines, right? And growing up, I just thought that was normal. I aspired to that. And then at some point, as I was in my career, I was just like, you know what? That's not going to be me. That's not my story because what have I
Mhm.
done that's so amazing? What have I done that's so noteworthy? And I just was like, And so to get this opportunity to be featured in Forbes,
Mhm.
I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening here? So I feel really fortunate and really blessed. And I think the reminder there for everyone is your story is your story and it's unique to
Yeah.
you and other people need to hear it and are interested in it, right? Like just keep using your voice to share your
That's
story
right.
because you never know who you might encourage, you never know who you might inspire, you never know who might find it interesting. And so lean into sharing your story and your voice.
But this is that's why I thought when I saw that on Forbes, and I was like, I knew this kid when she was in Peterhouse. You were just a kid, and just the rise and rise of Yevedzo. And I've known the women in your life, your mother, your aunties, and these are powerful. And the family that they came from, the importance of education, and it's a whole bunch of very educated women, and you couldn't have gone wrong, and I'm not surprised. I had not been in touch with you for a while, but now you are now a CEO. You now, your face on Forbes, and you're now a mom, and and inspiring other women, because when you don't have anybody who will tell you that you are more than what you think, you don't do it. You don't know, and you just kind of like, well, it is what it is, when there's so much more, right?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes. Yes, Auntie. Thank you so much for those kind words. And I think for me, the other part of this that's so important, and this experience that I went through, was because I have a daughter. I have a little one
Yeah.
now who looks up to me, right? And I am very conscious of the fact that she watches everything that I do and she absorbs
Yeah.
it all. And so I wanted to go through that experience and know that whatever happened with me is going to be what she also takes in, right? And so I wanted the message to be, listen, you can shift and do what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
You can get off of the well-worn path and create and carve a new path, even if other people don't understand it, which was the case for me. A lot of people said, wait, are you sure? Why don't you find this legal job, right? But I knew that this is what I was supposed to be doing, and I listened to that as well,
Well,
and I want my daughter to know that.
of course, she's standing on very strong shoulders. She can't. It can't. It's really. I don't see anything going wrong there, and it's just so amazing to see you as a mother talking about children. You're also an author. You authored a children's book. Talk to me about your book.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. My first baby. I wrote that book when we were expecting our child, and we're in the US, as you said, in the diaspora, and looking around, I didn't see any quality African children's books first. Number two, Zimbabwean children's books that could teach her our languages, right? Like she's has no problem, obviously, with English growing up in America. And so I
Yeah.
said, what about Shona? What about Ndebele? My husband is Ndebele as well. And so that was important to us. And not seeing anything, I decided to create my own resource. And so it's a Shona and Ndebele language learning book that also has English. And initially, I wrote this book because I said, oh, other Zimbabweans who are in my position might enjoy it. But the book has surpassed that expectation. It has gone far and wide across the globe. I mean, you have grandkids in Australia.
Yes.
They have a copy of this book. A lot of people all over the world got this book who were non-Zimbabwean as well, because they said, wow, it's nice to see a book that features one, Africa in a positive light, because in the book, I
Yeah.
really celebrate Zimbabwe. And I want people to know that the same things that you have here, we have there,
Yeah.
right? And painted in a positive light. And also, a book that features little brown kids.
Exactly.
And that was important to me. Children's literature is really, it's growing now since I've written this book. But at the time, there weren't a lot of books that were showcasing little brown kids. And there weren't a lot of books by women authors, Black women authors, a lot of books by, Africans about Africa. So all of those things I was trying to chip away at with my book. So yeah.
It means a lot to me because I also published a book, A Trip to Zimbabwe with Gogo, a trip to Zimbabwe with my grandchildren from Australia to Zimbabwe. And I really enjoy it when I'm talking to people who bought the book and they're like, oh my God, when we went to Zimbabwe, we went to Vic Falls and we read about that in Trip to Zimbabwe with Gogo. It's great. Somebody has to do it. And there are lots of little brown kids who don't see themselves in magazines or books or anything. And we need to empower them and keep doing what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
is your child speaking Shono Ndebele
Oh
words
yeah,
here and there?
she can understand better than she can speak.
Yeah.
But she tries. She really is such a little passionate learner.
Hmm.
And yeah, she's I mean, she's doing really well. And she's just got a love for the language, a love for Zimbabwe, which is what we wanted to cultivate ultimately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't want it to be a foreign land to them. They don't stay there, but that passion can only be created by parents who make an effort to to eat the food, to talk the language, speak the language, and remind them. They might never really go to live there, but when they go to visit Gogo and all these people, it's so important. It's so
Yes,
important. I'm so proud,
it is.
so proud of that. So proud of that. And now that
Aw.
some of us are Gogos and we don't want. Unfortunately, these kids are lucky because we are Gogos who bilingual. We can speak and
Yes.
but
Yes.
when children have no idea, they look so lost when they go on vacation, go home, and um, they can't speak the language. They don't know
Right.
anything. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. So now, tell me more. Back to your coaching women lawyers. How is that coming up? and are you getting a lot of traction? Are you getting a lot of other female lawyers who could benefit from empowering them to move forward, in what they're doing, and also letting them know that law, yes, that's you, but there's more to it. You are more than that.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's going well. I think, it's a business that's growing slowly
Mhm.
but surely. I'm really trusting the process there. And I have such a heart for this because I've lived it. And so I know the struggles that they go through. And I think the number one thing that I would say about that business is, you look at people who are in senior positions and who seem to have it all together, and you don't realize that they're also struggling with things. They
Mm,
face self-doubt, lack of self-confidence in certain instances, and sometimes they encounter situations in the corporate world that really shake them, right? And so I'm here to guide them, to offer them a different perspective, and to help them move forward to whatever their goals are. And some of my clients absolutely want to remain in the law, and they want to find, maybe another job, or they want to, get a promotion, whatever that is. And then some want to leave, and that's all okay, right? Like, I don't ever say, oh, you have to leave or anything like that. But ultimately, I want you to be able to choose and be intentional in your
mhm,
choice, whatever that might be. And I think so often we enter the corporate world and we're on this rat race, and we just don't stop to think, what is it that I truly want? What choices am I making? Because by not making a choice, you're also choosing.
mhm.
um,
True.
and so just encouraging and reminding women that they do have power to create the life and career that they want. But it starts with you stopping, pausing, and assessing, what is it that I want, right? Is that the same still from 5 years ago? Is that the same still from 2 years ago, right? And just always being in touch with yourself. And so it's going well, and there's so many amazing coaches that I've also met who are on this journey and
Yeah.
on this path. And my hope is that together we can improve the practice of law, make people have an enjoyable, sustainable practice, right? We need lawyers to be well because lawyers play such an important role in society, and so we need lawyers to be well and to practice from a place of intention, a place
Yeah.
of peace, a place of joy, right? That's what you want for your lawyer. And so we're slowly, I think, chipping away at that in our own
Yeah.
small ways as coaches. Yeah.
I suppose this usually is the fear that is the fear of trying something else, and the fear of being labeled, the fear of being looked at having failed at something, and the fear of going into something that you're not quite sure, and again you don't know if you're going to win or fail, and so a lot of times people just are stuck in workplaces. Like corporate world can be brutal, man. It can be brutal. You can't sleep because you think if you snooze, you're out. So that's we encourage what you're doing to empower other women so that they can look at themselves, view themselves differently, and know that there is something else. There could be something, and there is something else other than the rat race of corporate world.
Yeah, absolutely. A quote that I love that I think captures what you're saying is, let your faith be bigger than your fear. You're
Yeah.
going to encounter fear, right? Like, you're going to encounter fear, you're going to be scared, but let the faith override that. And interestingly, both faith and fear require that you believe in something that you can't see.
On that note, I would like to thank you, Yeve, for the work that you're doing, and believing in yourself and making us proud, and just being the Black girl rising. And, that's exactly what we want. And we want to amplify that voice and empower other girls who are out there that, hey, you can do it. You could be fired and find yourself on Forbes Magazine. It can happen to anybody. I'm sure it can happen to anybody. That's wonderful. And, really thank you for coming and for sharing your story with us today. And to those who are following us, please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and share with your friends so that we can have more people. And the more people we have, then we can have Meta will give us a Facebook page for Inspired Voices. From me, Sangwadzi Spiwe, you have a lovely day, and I will talk to you again next time when I bring another amazing guest, ordinary person who is doing incredible work in our communities. Thank you so much, and have a lovely, lovely day.